Has been established since 2018. It was actually established after a series of life-altering events that demanded that I go deep within myself in order to navigate my light in the comforts of my own darkness. Okay, so in order for me to return to my roots, my ancestors, my spirit guides, my guardian angels, which I call my spiritual team, who's always been a part of me as a child, then returning to that and reinforcing that relationship with the source, I was not only able to heal myself, but come up with a product or come up with products able to that allow healing for others as well.
I am a nurse, and I love the nursing part, but I also wanted to do some type of entrepreneurial actions so that my children will have something that I can pass down, and maybe blow up in longevity and last forever, and they can pass it on to their kids.
The name of the business?
I've been recording since I was like about 12 when I did that song Young Ballers when I won a talent show.
Correct. And you won that contest, didn't you?
Nope. I won when I was going to Dale Curry summer camp.
As far as describe your music.
I'll say it's, for one, I'll say it's real because I tell the truth about what I talk about, and I will say that you can relate to what I'm saying because I talk about realistic stuff. Put it like that. So it's just real, basically. I just got real music.
Spent on buying police military equipment and putting that money into mental health, putting that money into social services, putting that money into youth activities, putting that money into trying to eliminate poverty. And so when we see Daunte Wright shot, you know, this is a police officer, Paul, 10 miles from where the George Floyd trial is being held. She's got 27 years on the police force. She's the president of the police union. She says, taser, taser, taser. But then she shoots. She doesn't grab her taser. This is an experienced police officer. You've got the situation in...
If you take the kids, not kids, the young men phone numbers, when you're talking to them, you just can periodically call them. You know, when I call the guys going back to school this year, I said, okay, first day of school, man, you know, everything will be all right. Yeah. After that first day of school, call back. How was it? You know, who's in school? Nothing have to be structured, just general conversation. Me and 4 young men went out to lunch one day just after they got an award that 90% of the parents weren't there to see them receive their award. And that was heartbreaking to me. So 3 or 4 of us just went out to lunch, and it was the best time we had that day. And I mean, for them, they still call, and all they want to do is to go out to have lunch again with me, and that's it.
I noticed that a lot of our youth, especially the young men, they just want, just like you said, they want some communication. They have a lot to talk about.
Right. You know, one young man didn't come to a meeting one night, and I asked him why you didn't come up to the meeting that morning. And he said, can I talk to you later? And I said, yeah. And he says, you know, last night the police raided our house looking for my brother. And so his morning, you know, when he comes to school, they were saying, why are you late for school? And why are you not on time? And when he was trying to explain it to them, they said, just go to class. That was his morning, not knowing that he just came out of a situation where he was dealing with the police. He was placed on the floor by the officers to secure the house, and they're looking for his brother. They get him off the floor. He brushes himself off, and he walks to school. Nobody knows what he went through 20 minutes prior to arriving to school. So if you get into it and talk with these kids and stuff and find out what really their lives are like, I think you'll find out more about them. And
we lived on the Endangered projects, and we lived on Georgia Degree and Liberty Hill. Living in those neighborhoods, you actually experience a lot of good things and bad things. But one thing that was always consistent with my living in North Charleston growing up, my mother, when we had hard times, when we had real hard times, my mother would always say, the Lord will provide. I always remember that as a little kid in Head Start all the way to college. My mother always said, Lord will provide. I had to find God myself. Yes. I had to find my own personal relationship with him. But I knew from experiences what he had actually did for my mother and my brothers and my father and my family. So I knew that if all I had to have done was to stay focused on the Lord, and he would see me through. And he's always been there for me.
Now, I know being in law enforcement for so long, you had to have that support of your family. How important was it to have that support of your family in that law enforcement field?
Keeping it real,
yes, sir.
I'm African American. I'm born black, I'm going to die black.
Yes, sir.
So I love my heritage. But I realized a long time ago, way before I was in law enforcement, that the African American community in law enforcement has always had issues with each other. So I knew going into law enforcement that I have to not only worry about, you know, the black side of things, but the blue side of it. In other words, sometimes I'm too black for the blue, and sometimes I'm too blue for the black. But I never let that hold me down, because my main objective is to bring peace and tranquility to communities. And the only way I knew about doing it was to be a part of it. My father told me, son, you can change a lot of things if you're on the inside. If you're on the inside, you can change a lot of things. And you can help better the outside of things. So with me, I just knew that getting into law enforcement and let law enforcement see black people as they really are, from the internal part of law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
Then that way, when they go out to serve African Americans, they have already been in contact with African Americans on the inside, and they know how to better navigate those conversations.
About your well-being. And, you know, I had, you know, my father's still living, my mother's passed on, but I have very, very good praying parents. And so even though it was not the career choice that they would have chosen for me, you know, they just prayed for me, and they understood that sometimes the calling on your life is something that you're not totally prepared for, because it definitely wasn't something that I ever thought that I would be doing. But family support means everything. You know, officers go through a lot, and I think you see that throughout the country. And, you know, they're tired when they get home. A lot of things they see they don't want to talk about. So it causes all types of internal issues. And so having that support from their significant other, their family, whoever that may be, means the world.
Now, I know they said
we moved around a lot when I was growing up, and got to know a lot of people. It allowed me to be able to interact with folks and be comfortable talking to people. And it also, I learned growing up that there were a lot of folks who, when they get involved in the criminal justice system, right, you have some bad players and some, I call them knuckleheads sometimes.
Correct, yes, sir.
But you also have folks who make some bad lifestyle choices. And what I've come to recognize is if we can make a difference in those who make the bad choice the first time or even the second time, and then get them turned around so that they make good choices. Life's about choices. Correct. And with every choice you make, there's a consequence. Well, what I'd like for these individuals, especially the ones in the jails that we deal with on a regular basis, is when they make a choice, they have a good consequence instead of a bad consequence.
You have a lot of...
Why had the RNC in 2008. They're both coming here to Charlotte to sit down with us. We've been to their cities to look at their layout and talk to people. So there's a free flowing of information. We've even gone back to the 2004 convention in Boston and met with the representatives from Boston to hear what their experiences were. So everybody's willing to help, so we don't have to necessarily rewrite an entire plan. There's a roadmap already out there for us that, you know, if we follow and learn from their successes, we're going to be okay.
Okay, I know you deal a lot with the youth in our community. Why is it so important that we have that type of attention to the youth in our community?
Well, when you look at crime and you look at its cycle and you look at some of the systemic issues involved that allow crime to continue to occur throughout history, we have to look for ways to try to break that cycle. And part of breaking that cycle means engaging people earlier and addressing educational issues, addressing youth problems, addressing poverty issues. Anytime you can look at the enablers of crime, and our young people are a part of that. So I believe that if we can engage our young people early, if we can, teach them certain skill sets, if we can develop the relationships, make them aware of some of the negative opportunities that unfortunately they become engaged in, and steer them into more positive opportunities, that we can help break that cycle. So, and there's so much value in our young people.
Correct.
And it's so disheartening to see our young people go down the wrong path or fall victim to criminal activity or victims of crime. It just makes you want to fight each and every day to make sure that you have a generation that can move past that and be successful and become a part of the vibrancy of a community and help a community versus hurting that community.
When you go to one of these crime scenes and you see one of those youth laying down there, what type of impact does that play on you?
It's probably one of the most heartfelt experiences that you ever have to endure. The one time that I considered walking away from law enforcement, it just seemed that I experienced and witnessed too many of those deaths, and wanting to do more to try to really bring people to a different place where they don't fall victim to such horrific types of crime. But I've learned that, where I am now, I have just as good a chance of trying to help young people and bring about a change in the way that they look at things and deal with things. So I'm encouraged. I'm not discouraged. I'm encouraged. I think that, one day we're all going to get it. Young people are going to get it, and they're going to steer away from a lot of that negative activity that causes them to fall victim to crimes such as homicides.
And making sure that they don't get caught in a home invasion.
Safety, I know you're a 9th degree martial art.
Yes, sir.
You have numerous martial art studios in Mecklenbur County. Why is it so important that we know self-defense?
Looking is the criminal element. He's like a tiger or a lion. They're going to try picking on the weak, okay, the easy. And martial arts is going to teach you to be a strong individual. It's going to teach you the techniques. Do you have to be, I always tell everyone, like Muggsy Bogues, was he the tallest basketball player with the NBA? But could he, yes, right. And look at what he could do, okay, just because of his practice. And, martial arts, not everybody, I'm 50 years of age now. I cannot do what I could do at 20 years of age. But if I am attacked by a 20-year-old now, I would be able to handle myself better because of the martial arts, the skills that I've learned over the years. So you just do this, it's like it's a way of life. It calms you that you will be able to protect yourselves. You'll be able to protect your families. So it's important to learn self-defense. Starting off as a kid, karate is secondary what we teach. What we teach kids are life skills. I just finished summer camps this summer, and I take a kindergartner who is totally shy, afraid to look anyone in the eye. By the end of the week, they're walking up to a stranger, and we demonstrate it in every camp, every class. They come up and introduce themselves. They know the 3 things. I'll get any kid, I'll bring them up, what's the 3 things for a polite greeting? They're going to tell you good eye contact, a good loud voice, and a good firm handshake, and have a smile. And they come up and they introduce themselves to someone they've never met before. That is powerful. Because now they're able to look someone in the eye, they have that confidence, they have that self-esteem, and and that's something that's going to carry on for the rest of their life. So martial arts is something, life skills, when you're young, but then as you become an adult, then it's more into the self-defense. So if someone just comes up, like
couldn't find anything in Los Angeles, and I just Googled new homes in Charlotte.
Yes.
And when I saw what I could get here in Charlotte, I yelled across, I said, Z, come and look at the new house. We're moving. And so she came in my office and we saw the house. About 3 weeks later, we flew down here. Okay. We put the money on the house. And in April of 2016, we moved in.
April 2016.
We moved down here in July of 2015, and we watched them build a house.
Okay.
And we inspected the house as it went along. And while we were doing that, we also started the necessary paperwork for the church.
Yes, sir.
Now, one of the things that I want to say is that the whole process was really God ordained.
Amen.
Because, you know, we're just not that smart.
No, we're not.
You know, some of the things that fell right in place.
Yes, sir.
The Kairos timing of God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like when you realize that you are in your flow, then you just go along with the program and you let things happen, but you make sure that you're responsible for the things you have to be responsible for.
2011, so coming into probably February, it'll be 7 years.
What inspired you to become an owner?
Actually, the inspiration is funny. I was kind of just kind of thrust into the situation. The owner, he got put in a position to where he just wanted to get out, and the opportunity just kind of just fell in my lap. It just kind of fell in my lap. It's actually one of those things. But you know, God don't make mistakes, so
Correct.
it was all planned, I guess.
So what advice do you give to the entrepreneurs out there, the future who want to be entrepreneurs out there in our community? What kind of advice do you give them?
First, I think the first and the most important thing is always have faith.
Okay.
Because you got to have that faith. Correct. Because it's going to look, you're going to have many, many days and nights that it's going to look grim. And like I said, have that faith. And then probably secondly, just always don't be afraid to bet on yourself. Because a lot of times when you're an entrepreneur, you're going to be around people that don't share that same vision, or they're hesitant about the vision that you see, or they can't see it.
Okay.
So sometimes you might get put in a position to where you have to be the one to see the vision for them. So when nobody else sees it, you got to be able to bet on yourself and know what you're doing, and what you're doing is the right thing.
Like change the activities. Why have this really created some of the changes that you've had for this last couple of years?
Yeah, great question, Paul. So yeah, we always pride ourselves in not only getting our employees involved, but also thanking our employees' families, because they make a lot of sacrifices too, to make sure that our employees come to work every day. Sometimes we have to work weekends, and so there's sacrifices by the family that we want to make sure they also know we appreciate them. So we did a lot of that before COVID. But with COVID, the risk was just too high. The last thing we wanted to do is get any of our employees infected, or for sure their families. So we discontinued not only a lot of those activities for the last couple of years, but we also restricted who could come to our plants. And we restricted that because we're, number one, just trying to protect our employees who were essential workers. They had to come to work every day. So it was really all in the spirit of making sure our employees and their families were protected. We're hoping we can go back to that in 2022 and begin all those activities again, because they were really a lot of fun. I think our employees and their families really appreciated them.
All right, Nick. Tell Larry hello for us.
Nick Cannon. How you doing, sir? Good. You good? Yes, sir. Thank you for coming out here, sir.
My brother in prison, so I came home and started writing my brother's killer in prison, which was my cousin. I then started Thug, which is True Healing Under God. It's what I received after I wrote my brother's killer in prison. I used the word thug because I was a big fan of Tupac Shakur. I was intrigued by his artistry and his gift. Not so much the gangster rap, but his gift of poetry and his background. In 2001, I wrote Reverend Sharpton in jail during a nonviolent protest in Vieques, Puerto Rico. He went to jail, and I literally wrote him in jail. I wrote 3 letters, symbolic to my brother being shot 3 times. Put his picture on the back of the envelope, and a week later he wrote me back, called me, and invited me to New York City, and spoke live in front of the United Nations building. And that was the beginning of our relationship and friendship. And so he immediately put me over the city of Charlotte to deal with issues as it relates to civil rights. And I was the chapter president from 2002 to 2008 for the National Action Network. Then in 2008, when President Barack Obama got in office, our calls increased, almost from 5 a week to like 20 calls a week. So I took it upon myself, after reading a book that Dr. King went full-time in civil rights, after Rosa Parks was denied her seat in the bus, 7 days later he went full-time. So I just walked out on faith and went full-time in civil rights. So we've been full-time since 2008, operating in 8 states.
At the bottom, we have Mr. Cedric Malone. Can I hear you? Cedric Malone.
I'm here, Brother Paul.
And we have Dr. Leon Jeters to the other left below me. How you doing there, Dr. Jeters?
Good to see you, Brother Brown. Good to see you.
Great, great. Okay, tell the audience a little bit about yourselves. And first of all, I want to tell you, each one of you, that it was an honor for me to pledge back in '82 with you. And I love each one of you. And this is 38 years ago that we did this. And we have, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, because it's an honor for me to just have y'all here today. First, we're going to talk to Mr. Wilfred Rogers. Tell the audience about yourself and what you're doing right now.
Thank you, sir. I met Paul and pledged with him in February of 1982. And we were all together at Benedict College, and now I am administrator at an alternative school in Columbia, South Carolina. We do alternatives. We have an alternative program in the Richland County School District #1, where we try to change the lives of students and get them on the right track. I've been doing it for 29 years, and if the Lord's willing, I don't have much longer to go in the school system. It's about time for me to retire.
Below me have Cedric Malone. Tell the audience about yourself there.
Born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, and then came to Benedict College in 1981 and met up with the line that's now the endangered species in spring of '82. Started preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ when I was 18 years old. And now I'm the pastor of the Greater Mount Zion Baptist Church, been there for 25 years. And I'm also the chaplain since 2004 at the Roanoke City Jail.
Now we have Leon Jeters. Tell the audience about yourself there.
Well, first of all, it's always difficult to follow distinguished gentlemen as you guys are. But I guess the issue is that we all met when we were young men back at Benedict College. We met it as primarily as that initial line of endangered species, and been friends and brothers and family ever since. And that's a long, long time. I'm originally from South Carolina, Low Country. Graduated Benedict, and after that I went to New York to be a filmmaker. And fast forward from filmmaking and things like that, I got into a lot of career changes and advocating for social justice issues, and eventually became a criminologist. In long story short, got a master's from John Jay, got a PhD. Currently, I'm the department chair back at our alma mater, Benedict College, where I oversee the Criminal Justice Administration Social Science Building. In addition to that, I also created and launched and operate now the Benedict College Cybersecurity Center. So basically, I think that it's very important for all of us that we were all, young leaders and young strivers committing to community service. And to this day, we're all still, we hold that creed dear. So it's good to be here. Good to see everybody. Glad to be a part.
Selected a rider, number 24,440,386. and that person received a prize of an annual pass and some other CATS memorabilia. And we also had an employee event to basically celebrate what we've been doing. So we included, our writers, our employees, and everyone in the community that has supported us to get to where we are today.
That's awesome. How would you describe the success of the first ever Lynx light rail system?
Well, I think that what you have to look at is how the light rail has transformed Charlotte. And in terms of the economic development, offering more mobility options, and it's just the first part of our plan to build a system here that'll support the growth and the economic vitality here in Charlotte.
What has been some of the challenges that you faced over the last 5 years?
Funding. Just the economic downturn, the impact that it's had on us and our ability to ensure that we can continue to support the services and the mobility needs for the community. And so it's been a challenge for us to balance the revenues against the expenses. And so we've taken a lot of steps to ensure that we can continue to provide those services and be as efficient and effective as possible with our costs.
Ms. Karen Wheeler, and she's with Clear Mind Counseling. How are you doing, Ms. Wheeler?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Tell the audience a little bit about Clear Mind Counseling.
Okay. Well, Clear Mind Counseling started out as a vision of mine several years ago, but I finally launched my own private practice in March of 2019. Currently, I've been in private practice with Clear Mind Counseling now since March. It was a vision of mine to be able to offer a type of individual therapy, group therapy, and specifically relapse prevention, engaging those individuals who are suffering with addiction and co-occurring disorders. Right now, I'm currently located off of Mallet Creek Church Road. It's on David Taylor Drive in the Charlotte area. Very excited because I just found a new space because I'm going to be doing some other things in my practice. And so I'll be moving. So this is an exciting time for me. I'll be relocating in about another month or so. So really excited.